Hello everyone, today I wanted to share some more of my music unpopular opinions. This is going to be part 3. Before I get into it, sorry for any background noise or dust particles that may occur throughout the video. These are just my opinions, of course. I'd love to hear some of your unpopular opinions down below. Just keep respectful, please. I'm going to be reading off my phone as I always do. And lastly, if I have any other subjects that check down below, I might have a pinned comment. And let's get into it. I used to not care for Bruno Mars at all. I didn't have any particular reason for it. And then I realized the reason why. I cannot stand any of his hit songs, especially the ballads really get on my nerves. Like Grenade, If I Was Your Man, but also even the uptempos, like they still get on my nerves. 24 Karat, Magic, Uptown Funk, for example. They just annoy me every single time I hear them, and I ask my sister to turn them off. She was playing some song the other day, and it wasn't even a hit, but I guess I just don't like his earlier music, because I like his stuff with Silk Sonic. Even Leave the Door Open is kind of getting irritating just because it's been so overplayed, and I think that's why I tend not to like his hit songs, because they get so popular and I just hear them over and over and over again, and that's the case for a lot of artists, but for him specifically, that really rings true. Next up, Glee's version of Bust Your Windows is better than the original. I heard the Glee version first, always loved that version, and then I heard the original, I believe, like last year, and it just didn't hit the same. I just like the vocal on the Glee version more, but definitely shout out to Jasmine Sullivan, great singer and songwriter, I will say. Next up, Kelly Clarkson's rendition of Queen of the Night is better than Whitney Houston's, and let me explain why. I think that her arrangement was just better, and I feel like it's a lot more interesting to listen to, because I remember hearing Whitney's version of the song and not really caring for it too much, and then I actually watched The Bodyguard this year and I heard it again, and same thing, I didn't really care for it that much. Obviously amazing vocals, it's Whitney Houston, one of the best singers of all time, and then whenever I heard Kelly Clarkson's rendition, I'm like, this is exactly what I needed to hear this song. But what I really like about Kelly's version is just like the way that it builds. Like, she starts a little slower in the beginning, she really builds up to something. I really like the direction that she takes her vocals in. Like, she just really added her own flair onto it. She just made it pop out a little bit more, and so I like her version a little bit more, and that's my personal opinions there. But like I said, Whitney Houston, definitely one of the best singers of all time, for sure, giving her her props there. Next thing that I want to say, Queen has so many misses in terms of album cuts. Like, I really liked them as a band, got into them in high school. I notice whenever I go back to the albums, there's a lot of songs that I like, but there's so many that I don't like. I'm like, skip after skip after skip. There's so many songs that should have been left on the cutting room floor, but they weren't. And there's a lot of deep cuts that I really do like. For example, Misfire. There's more misses than great songs in terms of the deep cuts, in my personal opinion. Next up, I don't understand the hype for the Rolling Stones. I've listened to some of their hit songs. I don't necessarily understand it. The best that I will give them is that Mick Jagger has a good stage presence. I think that his interviews are intriguing to watch. His voice, I just don't like listening to it. The songs, like, they're just not enjoyable for me to listen to personally. I just don't really understand the hype that goes with them, and that's my personal opinions there. And people might be watching this thinking I don't appreciate older music. As I said before, I'm a huge Beatles fan. I got into them like 2018 whenever I was in high school, and it really changed my perception of music. Don't really like them as people besides Paul McCartney, but yeah, I really like them. The Rolling Stones, like, I just never really get into them personally, and that's something that I wanted to state. Next up, people have to start getting more creative with their samples. It's just getting lazy at this point. I'm so tired of hearing people do the same sample over and over and over again. If you're going to do a sample that has been done so many times, you have to work that much harder to make it stand out in your song. And people aren't doing that. They get the sample cleared, they put it on the song, and I think that is all that has to be done. It's like, why aren't we writing a catchy song on top of that anymore? Why are we just relying on nostalgia to get us a hit song instead of actually writing a good song that's interesting, that really flips the sample on its head? Like, Mariah Carey's Fantasy is a brilliant example of that, because she samples Genius of Love by the Tom Tom Club. She wrote really catchy lyrics over it. She had a few lyrics from the original that she put in. She really added her own flair onto it. She made it interesting to listen to. People aren't really doing that anymore. Let's just try to use some more obscure samples. Let's try to do something different instead of doing the same thing over and over and over again. And also, sometimes let's just write an original song that's great as well. Like, at a certain point, it just gets stale. Like, let's try something different. It's really getting on my nerves at this point. Next thing that I wanted to say is I feel like artists need to balance out albums more. This was my main critique of Sour by Olivia Rodrigo. Like, I would listen to that album far more if we had more than like 3 or 4 uptempos on that thing. Like, I feel like a lot of it is basically the same song written in different ways. And even in her documentary for the album, she basically said that about like Enough for You, or one of the songs in the album. I don't really remember which one, but I was thinking, yeah, you're absolutely right, because you kept writing the same song over and over and over again. I think Olivia is a great songwriter. I think The Sour was a good album, but at a certain point, it just gets tiring to listen to. It's like, let's switch it up. Let's have a little bit more uptempos, please. I don't think that this has to be a rule for every single artist. For example, Mariah Carey has some slower albums that I really like. She sprinkles in a few uptempos, which I can appreciate. Fiona Apple, a lot of her albums are slower with a few uptempos, so I think it really depends on the artist and the album that it is. But at a certain point, it's kind of like, why does Adele got more uptempos than you? You know, like, I just feel like we have to balance it out more, and it's definitely something that I wanted to say. Next thing that I wanted to say is I'd love to have more album documentaries. I think that they're so much fun to watch. Like, Beyonce has a few documentaries for her albums, like her first album, Dangerously in Love. It's so fascinating to watch her in studio talking about how she came up with certain songs, and it's just really fascinating. So I feel like more artists should be doing that for sure. It just really makes me appreciate the album on another level. And now to a few Mariah unpopular opinions. Why isn't she in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame yet? And I feel like people are going to watch this video and they're going to be like, oh, it's because she doesn't necessarily like rock music, blah, blah, blah. They put anybody in there at this point. Anybody in there. Why is Mariah not in there? She literally has a cover of Bring On the Heartbreak by Def Leppard, which is amazing, by the way. You should check it out if you haven't already. So yeah, she definitely deserves to be put in there. The fact she's not in there is egregious. It also doesn't sit right with me that she doesn't have a VMA at all. Like, let's give her the Video Vanguard Award. Like, she's done so much, so many iconic music videos. For example, we have Honey, Fantasy, Heartbreaker, Touch My Body, Obsessed. Like, so many great music videos. The fact that she doesn't have one is egregious. Like, let's get her one ASAP. Next up, I prefer the original version of Fantasy over the remix. I like the instrumental a little bit more, and it's just more interesting to listen to. That's the one that I always personally go to. Next up, Caution is a classic album, and now I would put it at top 5 in her discography. Whenever I ranked her albums, I did put emotions over this. I understand why I did so, but now as time is going on, I find myself listening to this one way more. It just has a lot more replay value for me. It's a really easy listen. I think it's a great album for that stage in her career. It's such a wonderful album to listen to. Like I said before, I really love how she knows how to adapt with the times, work with current producers, and just really make it her own. And we have career highlights on here. Giving Me Life, one of the best songs in her entire discography. Like, such a psychedelic song. Love the guitar, love the vocals. Shout out to Blood Orange and Slick Rick for doing their thing on that song. 8th Grade is an amazing song. Really love that one. GTFO is a fun listen for me. And the only song that I would skip is Stay Long Love You. If Gunna wasn't on it, I would still be listening to that song and I wouldn't have to skip it, but his part, it just sounds so low effort. I just love the album cover as well. I think it looks stunning. I love the colorway that she went for. It perfectly matches the album. I think it's one of the best album covers that she's done. Next thing that I wanted to say is I love textless album covers. I think that they're excellent to look at, and I'm glad that more artists are starting to do that. You don't need to put text on your album cover. A lot of times I see album covers and they have cheap text and I'm like, you should have just kept that. You shouldn't have put it on an album, because now you kind of ruined it a little bit for me. Also, speaking of album covers, I feel like Spotify should let us choose the album cover. Apparently there's a way on Apple Music that you can do that. I want to choose the album cover because sometimes the artist picked the wrong album cover and I need to switch it up. I want something that fits the vibe of the album more. So I would really love the option to be able to swap out the album covers on Spotify. Hopefully we can get that one day. Last thing I want to say about album covers is that they are very important. Do not slouch on them. I saw someone on Reddit, I believe, say this, but it is true. A great album cover is essentially a work of art. Like, it's so beautiful to look at, and whenever I'm really excited for an album rollout and then I see an amazing album cover, it makes me that much more excited for the album, and it makes me even want to purchase the album, for example, or it can make me want to listen to an album I wasn't familiar with. For example, the Yola album, Stand For Myself, I saw the album cover, I thought it looked amazing, checked out the album, one of my favorite albums that I've heard this year, by the way, and I really love the album. So I think that they're very important. If you have a bad album cover, I'm not going to want to listen to the album at all. The only way that I'll check out the album is if I like the artist, or if a lot of people are saying that it's a great album and I want to listen to something new. And I just hate whenever I see an album cover and it's like, man, you did not even try to make a good album cover. Like, it doesn't even fit with like the theme of the album and all that. Like, I just hate it. I really love when everything comes to fruition. Like, it perfectly matches the theme of the album. The aesthetic is right. I like the colorway. Like, it just looks gorgeous. Like, we need to get perfect album covers. Some people just aren't trying nowadays, which is unfortunate. Every single part really counts, and I always appreciate an amazing album cover. The next thing that I wanted to say is I'm so sick of bad album rollouts. The Silk Sonic one in particular was egregious. Like, I remember that just got me so irritated. I didn't even want to listen to the album the way that the album was rolled out. The only reason that I did was because I asked you guys in my community tab if you wanted to see a reaction to it, and you guys voted yes, so I actually did do it, and I did enjoy the album, by the way. I just really left a bad taste in my mouth because they dropped Leave the Door Open, they let that go on for months and months and months. It got so bad to a certain point. We thought that they hadn't actually finished the album. We thought that they were actually lying to us. Bruno posted a pre-save link and we thought that he wasn't serious. We thought that he was just messing with us because they kept showing with Leave the Door Open. Like, it just got so irritating. And then eventually they did release other singles. It was just a bad rollout because I'm pretty sure that he announced the album in either February or March, and then we didn't get the album until November. That is such a long wait. Like, that is just ridiculous. I just hate rollouts like these. It gets on my nerves. It definitely affects how I see the album. Another thing on these rollouts is I don't want to know 5 months in advance that your album's coming out. That's too much time in my personal opinion. Let me know 2 or 3 months at max that your album is coming out. Like, I think that's the best amount of time because that lets me build up anticipation, save up my money if I want to buy a vinyl or a CD or for tour or whatever it is. And also another thing on albums, do not tell your fans, oh, I have an album coming out on this day, if you know that the album's not finished and you don't think it's going to be ready at that time, or if you have no intention of releasing an album on that day. Like, I'm so tired of artists releasing a single and then they get asked about new music soon. Like, it gets so old at a certain point. Why is SZA releasing Control Deluxe before we got the new album? 5 years later, she releases the deluxe version of an album instead of the new album. I'm not necessarily getting that. In SZA's defense, she might be having issues with the label. Maybe they're not letting her put out the album. I don't know these things, that is one whole separate issue. Then that's not totally in her control or whatever. Like, I completely understand, like, label issues, not letting them put that out. There's only so much that she can do there, right? And just artists in general, like, if there's an issue with the label, they're blocking them, they're not letting them put it out. That is like a whole thing. That's not necessarily what I'm trying to get to. I'm talking about artists who know full well that the album's not done. Like, they keep trolling their fans saying, oh, it's coming out, and then it never comes out. Like, at a certain point, I don't want to listen to the album, and it's just a wrong thing to do. So that's definitely something that I wanted to state. But I hope that we get to this new album soon, but it's kind of confusing the way the whole situation is, because it might be a label issue. It also could be her not wanting to put the music out because, like, insecurity and stuff. I feel like she's talked about that before. So I don't really know necessarily what's going on in that situation. But I just really don't like about a rollout. Give us a good rollout. Like people said, Adele's rollout was great. We get a single like a month before the album drops, and then we get the album we can enjoy. Like a short rollout, but a really good rollout for that. I really like the rollout for the new Harry Styles album, for example, stuff like that. Also, this might be an unpopular opinion that I just thought of, but I kind of prefer whenever people announce an album before we get the first single, because every single time artists drop singles, for example, I want to know whenever the album's coming out. Like, I remember whenever Mariah released all those singles for Plastic Hearts, and I was just wondering when the album's gonna come, and then the album announcement came, and I was like, finally. Or like Harry Styles, like his last album, Fine Line, he like did all that promo and all the singles and stuff, and then we got the album announcement. I kind of like having the album announcement first, because I know exactly when it's coming out, gives me something to look forward to, lets me put in my little calendar. So that's my personal opinions there. The next thing that I want to say is I love surprise releases, just not knowing what is going to come with the album. There's absolutely no singles. I don't have enough time to keep thinking about what this album's going to mean for their discography, what it's going to be, what it's going to sound like. It's just dropped. I can go listen to it. I can go appreciate it. It's just such an interesting way to release an album, just saying, here, go listen to it, go enjoy it. And so I really do appreciate a surprise release, I will say. Next thing that I want to say is I'm so sick of people throwing around the word legend. Like, people say that about anybody at this point. You have one good album, and then all of a sudden you're a legend. That doesn't make sense to me, because there's so many things that go into being a legend. You have to have the catalog to back it up. You have to have the chart stats to back it up as well. You have to have amazing performances. You just really have to show your consistency as an artist. You have to show your influence. That's really important, and just so many things that tie into that. And people have to decide overall across the board that you are a legend. I also think to be considered a legend, you have to completely change the entire landscape of music. Like, music would be completely different if you were not involved. And so I think that that's also important. But people just say legend about anybody. And I'm just like, are you guys serious? One good album and you're already calling them a legend? Like, where is the influence? Where's iconic outfits? Where's iconic moments? Where's the performances? Where's the stats to back that up? Like, there's so many different things that kind of tie into that. And so that's just something that I had to state. Continuing on with that, I feel like a lot of artists want to be popular. They want to be a big name. They want to have all the hype around them and whatever, but it's like they don't want to do the work. They don't want to have amazing cohesive albums that people can listen to front to back with no skips, or like 1 to 2 skips at best. They don't want to have amazing live performances. Like, they want to cut all the corners, and then they want to be at the top level. And that doesn't make any sense to me. Again, you want to be the legend, you have to put in the work to do so. It's not something that you just get that easy, and it's just really irritating to me. Like, let's put in some work. Next thing that I want to say is artists need to make longer songs. And I agree with people whenever they say that we need to bring back bridges in songs. Oftentimes, bridges are my favorite parts in songs. I feel like they can really take a song to another level, and it kind of saddens me that they're not in a lot of songs now. Like I said before, every song doesn't necessarily need a bridge, but I do think that they are a great addition to add into songs. And I'm just tired of a lot of these 2-minute songs, because it's like, why am I going to albums now? And the album is like 28 minutes. There's 13 songs on there, and then every song is like 2.5 minutes. That gets ridiculous. Like, we can't make every single song on the album for TikTok. Like, at a certain point, let's just make good music. Good music will transfer over. Like, let's stop trying to play into the trend so much. Like, it gets so annoying. Give me a longer song, make it something worth my while. Let's bring back 4-minute songs. Let's bring back a 6-minute song that I can do well. Like I said before, do not make a 6 or 7-minute song and just don't have it progress anywhere. Don't have it be interesting. Like, you have to switch it up. You have to make it lyrically interesting and just sonically interesting to listen to. But let's just have longer songs. I'm tired of those like 2 and 2.5 minute songs. I like a lot of shorter songs, don't get me wrong, but we have to be doing better with that. That's definitely something that I wanted to say there. The next thing that I wanted to say is artists have to step up their merch teams, and we have to start getting better prices for stuff. Why am I paying $200 for a hoodie? That doesn't make any sense. And half of the time, these hoodies, it just has like the album title on the front. There's no album cover. There's no track list on the back. It's just vibes. And $200 for that? $200? Like, at a certain point, we're getting ridiculous. I don't think that the artists have control over how much their stuff is. I'm pretty sure. I don't think that that's in their hands. But who's ever in charge of that, like, they have to fix that. Because did I think that we're just made of money? Like, it gets egregious at this point. And it's one thing if it's like sustainable. Like, for example, with Lord's New Era Solar Power, she said on the site that's why stuff is going to be costing more, because like the materials it's made out of, it's it's more environmentally friendly. Okay, I can completely understand that I'm paying more for that. That makes a lot of sense. But it doesn't make sense if I'm getting something that's bad quality, it's going to be ripping all the time, and it's just like, why am I paying this much money for something? Like, we have to start doing better. Like, there has to be a way to fix everything. At a certain point, it's just really irritating. It makes me not want to buy anything from the artist. A lot of times the designs I'm seeing are horrible. Like, I'm seeing better fan-made merch that's better quality, actually reasonable prices that people can pay, and it's like, why wouldn't I just get that instead? Because a lot of these new artists cannot perform at all. Like, why am I going to watch performances and there's absolutely no stage presence at all, horrible vocals, and it's just like, what are we even doing here? You have to find what you're good at and you have to capitalize on it. If you're amazing at playing instruments, let's do that. If you want to have like amazing production all the way throughout the stage, do that. If you're a great dancer, incorporate that. If you want to interact with the crowd, incorporate that. Like, you have to find a way to make the show work for you, and you have to find a way to make it interesting. If you don't want to tour, then don't go on tour. Like, it's really that simple. It's one thing if the label is forcing you to tour, which I think is incredibly unfortunate. I did want to say that. But it's like, if you know you don't want to tour and they're not intervening in that and you're constantly going out and touring, then why are you doing that? Like, just tell your fans to listen to the record at home. I'm not necessarily understanding that. Every once in a while, people have bad performances. They're human. People get sick. Things happen. But when every single performance I watch is horrible, it just really puts a bad taste in my mouth. Because at a certain point, it's like, why don't you care enough to make a better performance? Every single performance you do, people are saying how awful the show was and that the vocals weren't up to par. Then that's something that you have to fix as an artist if you want to keep doing live performing and you want to keep having people spend the money on it. Like, don't get mad if people complain that the show is bad if you know that you didn't put on a good show. If I've seen clips and you're not even staying in tune with the record, you're going offbeat with the record, you're just making up stuff because you forgot the words to your own record consistently. Like, that definitely bothers me. I just think that if fans are paying their hard-earned money to see you, the least that you can do is give them a good, memorable performance where everyone is safe. Like, that's the bare minimum to ask for, and it just saddens me that a lot of people just aren't taking the craft of performing seriously. Like I said, everyone's gonna have their different thing. You have to focus on that, you have to hone in on it, and you just have to do what works best for you. But at a certain point, like, we just have to get better with that. Next thing that I wanted to say is I'm so tired of people saying we need to let albums sit and songs sit and blah, 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 blah. I can understand that sometimes. There's albums that I listened to and I didn't get it the first time and I had to come back around at it. For example, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. I came back to that several times because I feel like there was more that I could get from it. It took a few times to click for me personally. Fiona Apple's album, Fetch the Bolt Cutters, just because of how it sounded sonically, it took me times to go back to that and listen to it or whatever. I can understand people saying that if it's a more conceptual album, like it's really dense lyrically, there's a lot to unpack there. But people say this about horrible albums. The artist went into the studio, they freestyled all their lyrics, the lyrics sounds horrible, there's no good album cover, like all of it as a package is horrible. And you want me to listen to it again? Like, it's not making sense. 9 times out of 10, if I listen to something and I don't like it, then I don't like it. Like I said, I go back to stuff all the time and I'm like, okay, I was wrong in that song, for example. But I know when I like something and I know when I don't like something. For me to go back to something, I'm only going to do it if I like the artist. If they show me that they can make a good body of work time and time and time again, then yeah, I'm going to go back to it again. Because I'm like, you know, maybe I didn't get it the first time. Maybe I'm just going to have to re-listen to it, fine. But if it sounds like the artist put absolutely no work into that album, like, it just sounds like they went into the studio, they're off key on the record, horrible lyrics, all of that, like there was just no effort put in, then why would I listen to it again? Like, y'all say let anything sit. Like, sometimes we get it the first time, it wasn't good. Why do you keep expecting me to go back to this album over and over and over again? I don't have to listen to a song 87 times to decide if I like it or not. I'm gonna know on the first listen or second listen. It's one thing to say, oh, give it one more listen, fine. But whenever you start talking about, oh, this is the way that you have to listen to the album and you have to listen to it this many times, or you have to listen to it in reverse, you're doing too much. Like, if the album is good, it's going to show that it's good on the first or second listen at best. Like, 90% of albums I listen to, I'm not going to have to go back a billion times and listen to it and decide if I like it or not. Like, that really gets on my nerves, and that's something that I had to state. But that's going to be it for my unpopular opinions today. I'd love to know if you guys agreed with or disagreed with some of my opinions today. I'd also love to hear some of your unpopular opinions down below in the comments. If you wanted to see similar videos to this, I'll have them in the cards right here, and they'll also be down below in the description and at the end of the video as well. The last thing I wanted to say, subscribers, let me know how you're feeling about this lighting situation. I did get this new floor lamp. I'm not sure how much of a difference that it makes in my videos. I think it makes a little bit of a difference, but let me know what you guys are thinking of that lighting situation and everything down below in the comments and everything. But that's gonna be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy it, please just leave a like down below. Helps me on the YouTube algorithm. I very much appreciate it. You can subscribe down below for more like this. If you hit the bell next to that, you get a notification when every time I post now, miss when a brand new video comes out. The first link down below in the description is going to be my second channel. If you want to see more of me, definitely hit me up on there. I'm also going to have my Twitter, my Instagram, and my Spotify if you'd like to follow me, as well as links to educate you guys on important situations. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in my next one.